Imagine if DPS came to your door to take away one of your children because you were not using their preferred gendered pronouns. Sounds preposterous? It's happening. Stay tuned for the details. Welcome to the Chaplain's Corner After Hours, a place to discuss world events which impact our Christian walk and our spiritual journey, and where sometimes these discussions have sharp edges. Hello, and welcome to the Chaplain's Corner After Hours. I'm your host, Warren Mueller, and let's jump right into our top story. This comes from the category of you can't make this stuff up. An Indiana Catholic couple is in the grips of a nightmare after their son was seized from them when they refused to adhere to his chosen transgender identity, an attorney told EWTN News as reported in the National Catholic Register on March 5th. After Mary and Jeremy Cox didn't use the pronouns requested by their teenage son when he began to identify as a girl, Indiana Child Services removed their son from his home. The parents sought legal action, and their case, MC and JC versus Indiana, is now being appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. And all of this, and I quote, despite no evidence of abuse or neglect, the Cox's son has not been returned to them. Interesting. Lori Wyndham, vice president and senior counsel at the Beckett Law Group, who's now representing the Coxes, explained that the Cox's son was removed from their care by state officials even after they investigated for months and found that they were fit parents. What's shocking, Ms. Wyndham continues, is the Indiana courts upheld this, and now the Supreme Court is their last stop and their last hope to make sure this doesn't happen again to others. Wyndham said she hopes the court will wipe this stain off of Mary and Jeremy's record. Now, remember here, just let me be clear. This is not California we're talking about, or Colorado, or New York, or some other blue hellhole. This is Indiana. Supposedly a very red state, as in a Republican governor, a Republican legislature. We'll have more to say about this story in our editorial segment at the end of this episode. But now, let's look on the chaplain's radar to see what other stories we have in the queue. Story number 2. Liberty University fined $14 million over concerns about campus safety. The U.S. Department of Education announced on Tuesday, we don't know which Tuesday, although this story is reported on March 7th, the DOE announced on Tuesday that it has fined Liberty University $14 million in response to failures to report campus crimes and its treatment of sexual assault survivors. The culmination of the investigations resulted in the largest fine for such a campus safety violation, according to the Department of Education. Now, in case you don't know who or what Liberty University is, Liberty is the largest evangelical college in the country, with the school reporting in 2022 enrollment on campus of about 16,000 and 130,000 students enrolled overall. It is one of the colleges receiving the highest level of student aid in the country, with its students receiving $772 million in student aid in 2017. Now, colleges whose students are receiving federal aid are required by something called the Clery Act to report crime statistics and campus threats every year. The DOE, or Department of Education, reviewed Liberty's handling of campus safety from 2017 to 2023. And the federal government found the failures at Liberty centered on its handling of sexual crimes. The department review concluded that Liberty had failed in 11 areas, from timely responses to sexual violence reporting to the department and the wider community. Now, that sounds like Liberty must be a really dangerous place, doesn't it? And that's where this story gets to be a little confusing. Googling the most dangerous college campuses, here's what came up. Liberty University is nowhere on the list for 2019 to 2021 college campus incidents. In fact, the University of Michigan at Ann Arbor was the leader on this list with 1,468 cases of violent crime between 2019 and 2021. The second place college was Ohio State University with a total of 583 violent incidents in that same time frame. Nowhere on this list of 27 colleges do you find Liberty University. And yet, according to the Department of Education, Liberty University received the largest ever fine from the Department of Education. Now, how is that? Did I mention that Liberty is the largest evangelical college in the country? Let's leave that one there. Story number 3 for today. France, the country, France makes abortion a constitutional right. In a rare joint session at the Palace of Versailles on Monday, we don't know which Monday, this story was also reported on March 7th, lawmakers voted 780 to 72 to enshrine in their constitution the right to an abortion, making France the first country in the world to do so. While abortion was already legal in France, Parliament acted in response to the U.S. Supreme Court's overturning Roe v. Wade in 2022, as well as, and I quote this, the rightward political swing in countries around the world. The rightward political swing. How about that? The French government wanted to shore up its existing laws ahead of any potential gains by the political right in France's next presidential election coming up in 2027, even though none of the political parties are advocating an end to abortion. Well, how special is that? The French, apparently, have successfully enshrined in their constitution the right to murder. Well, good for them. And now our fourth and last story for this episode. This isn't really a news story unless you've been living under a rock for the last year, but on Super Tuesday, President Trump scored huge big Super Tuesday wins and now becomes the presumptive Republican nominee for the president. Former President Donald Trump easily defeated his sole remaining rival for the 2024 Republican presidential nomination, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, winning 14 out of 15 primary battles on Super Tuesday, March the 5th. Haley prevailed in only one of the Super Tuesday states, Vermont, adding to her other victory in the area of Washington, D.C. With Trump on a trajectory to secure the Republican presidential nomination, a 2024 rematch of the 2020 election is taking shape. Oh, can't wait for that. Incumbent Democrat President Joe Biden has not faced a competitive challenge since the start of the Democratic presidential primary season. The 2024 election will be the first presidential election since the United States Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. Back to the abortion issue. The Supreme Court's 2022 ruling allowed states and the federal government to impose restrictions on abortion. Someone should tell that to all the babies who are being aborted. Anyway, the Biden campaign has fought hard for abortion and has urged Congress to pass a law to codify the abortion standards that were set in Roe. Candidate Trump has been less specific about his intended policies on abortion, but he has said he would sign something that pro-life voters will like and has acknowledged that the federal government has a role in protecting life. Well, at some point, abortion, along with illegal immigration, will for sure become the defining policy issues in the 2024 presidential election. And so that's all that we have on our Chaplain's radar today. And let's move on. And now for our editorial segment, let's head down into the Chaplain's secret secure bunker, hidden deep below the rolling hills of northwest Alabama. Are all doors secure?
Yes, sir, and perimeter security is activated.
Well, you can't be too careful these days. But let's go back to our lead story and see if we can find something instructive, something redeeming, and something hopeful about this very sad story from Indiana. Now, the story from National Catholic Register didn't have a lot of details. And so going to the Becket Fund website and looking up the case summary for Mary and Jeremy Cox, we can find a lot more information about what's going on. The first thing noted in the case file is Mary and Jeremy Cox are a faithful Catholic couple. It was in 2019 that their son left them a note informing them that he identified as a girl. The Coxes believed he needed help for underlying mental health concerns, including an eating disorder. During this time, Mary and Jeremy spoke to their son about their religious beliefs regarding sexuality. In 2021, Indiana investigated Mary and Jeremy following a complaint that they were not referring to their child by his preferred gender identity. The reporting source, whom we don't know who that is or what that is, falsely claimed that the parents were neglecting and verbally abusing their child. At the initial trial court hearing, Indiana officials argued the child should be in a home where she is, remember this is a boy, she is accepted for who she is. Where did the trial court get that? The court restricted Mary and Jeremy's visitation time and barred them from speaking to their child about their religious views on human sexuality and gender identity. On what basis did the court do that? It certainly wasn't the U.S. Constitution. After completing its investigation, this just gets better. Indiana made an about face and abandoned all allegations against Mary and Jeremy. State officials then surprised the parents by pointing to the disagreement over gender as the sole reason to keep him away from his parents. Again, what was the basis for that? Almost 2 years after Indiana removed their child from their home, Mary and Jeremy had no other option but to ask the Supreme Court to step in. On February 15, 2024, Beckett and attorney Joshua Hirschberger filed a reply brief at the court asking the justices to protect the parents and others from government interference in raising their children. Well, this brings up a few thoughts. The first thing is, the very first thing is what is initially said in the court brief, that Mary and Jeremy are faithful Catholics. Now, in the Roman Catholic Church, this strongly implies that they go to church every Sunday. It would also imply that they go to church on holy days of obligation, of which there are many besides Sundays. It would also imply that they probably go to confession from time to time. And certainly, being a faithful married couple, presumably in the Catholic Church, they take the sacraments at Mass routinely. They may even volunteer for various ministry duties at the church. And no doubt, they tithe or something, give some set of money to the church as a part of their devotion. So I have a question. And this is a question that the smart people, who apparently have no brains and no cojones, ought to ask. For example, where is their church in this? Where is their priest in all of this? If they have a deacon in the church, where is he in all of this? And for God's sake, where is their diocesan bishop in all of this? And what about the church elders? Have any of them stood up for Mary and Jeremy? Are these two faithful Catholics just hanging out there all on their own with this very serious issue, and the church has nothing to say about it? People, we got to get a grip on this. The Marxist left keeps on doing this to us because they do not fear us. And more importantly, they do not fear the living God. To continue along this path of appeasement invites more and more of this type of persecution. And as we know from history, this is only going to get worse. Now, I'm not in any way advocating some type of a Jesus moment where a disciple pulls out a sword and lops off somebody's ear. But we do need to show up where the demonic Marxists ply their craft against us, which these days is just about everywhere. Because when we show up, the Holy Spirit will be there. Where we show up, they will call us names. They will yell at us. They may throw stuff at us. They may strike us. And they for sure will threaten us. But remember Matthew chapter 10, verse 28. Do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather, fear him who can destroy both soul and body. We need to show up where these people are at. We need to show up where our fellow Christians are being persecuted. In the schools, in the city council meetings, in the library meetings. Not to confront these Marxists, but rather to convict them. Because in their blind rage, they will destroy themselves. Or more to the point, the Holy Spirit will convict them and let them destroy themselves. The time to act is now. We can't sit back waiting for it to happen to somebody else. It's going to happen to us. And we have to use the tools that we have to act. Please recall in 2 Corinthians chapter 10, where Paul proclaims, "Though we walk in the flesh, we do not wage war according to the flesh. Our weapons are not of the flesh, but have divine power to destroy strongholds." The witness of the church, of the faithful, of the clergy, have divine power to destroy strongholds. All we have to do is to use the power which by God's grace we already have. Program notes for this episode are in the Chaplain's Corner After Hours on Facebook. Find us with the Facebook search bar, and please give us your comments there.